Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. Welcome to the meeting of the Straight Up Club. We're going straight up because we know there's no place else to go except to home.
Vamos directo hacia arriba porque sabemos que no hay otro lugar a donde ir excepto en casa.
So I'm asking Jesus, like, why doesn't Dorothy just click her heels and go home? Because Dorothy doesn't want to. She wants to play around with the Wicked Witch of the West.
Así que le estoy preguntando a Jesús por qué Dorothy simplemente hace clic en sus talones y se va a casa porque Dorothy no quiere que ella quiere jugar con la bruja malvada de Occidente.
Oh man, that was another movie I didn't like much when I was a kid, you know, because I thought it was really scary. Oh, every time I say that, then Jesus is going to have me watch it just to see it's refreshed and renewed by God.
Oh, hombre, esa fue otra película que no me gustó mucho cuando era niño. Tú sabes por qué yo pensaba que era realmente aterrador o cada vez que digo que entonces Jesús iba a hacer que yo la viera solo para ver su refrescado y renovado por Dios.
Follow the yellow brick road, but click your heels really fast so that you don't spend a lot of time on the road wasting time. That's Jesus.
Siga el camino de ladrillo amarillo, el clic en sus talones muy rápido para que usted no pasa mucho tiempo en el camino perdiendo el tiempo que es Jesús.
So we're continuing with the teacher's manual, which has been very helpful.
Continuando con el manual del profesor que ha sido muy útil.
We probably need to go close the door to my room because the dogs seem to have discovered something. The dogs are kind of like the ego. They bark at nothing.
Los perros son como el ego que ladran a nada.
So we're on section 14. How will the world end?
Estamos en la sección 14, ¿cómo se acabará el mundo?
Now we're getting somewhere, the world ending.
Ahora estamos llegando a algún lugar donde el mundo termina.
And of course, Jesus starts with the punchline here. Here's this first sentence. Can what has no beginning really?
Jesús comienza con la frase aquí está la primera frase podemos.
Can what has no beginning really end?
Puede terminar lo que no tiene principio.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, trying to find the end of the world is like trying to prove that God is dead.
Oh Dios mío, si tratar de encontrar el fin del mundo es como tratar de probar que Dios está muerto.
See, the ego is going to say, and I've said this myself, so it's coming from one who has practiced, who practiced that, was, when is this going to end, Jesus?
Las águilas van a decir, y yo mismo he dicho esto, así que el hielo viene de alguien que es práctica a práctica, que fue cuando esto va a terminar con Jesús.
And we have to see the one that's saying, when is this going to end? Because that's the one that's pretending that there's a beginning and an end, when the light has no beginning nor end.
Tenemos que ver al que está diciendo cuándo va a terminar esto, porque ese es el que pretende que hay un principio y un fin cuando la luz no tiene principio ni fin.
And we can just ask Jesus, Jesus, is consciousness a desire for a beginning and an end?
Jesús, es la conciencia un deseo de un principio y un fin.
A beginning and an end.
Un principio y un fin.
Yes, it is.
Sí, es.
So this is where we have to look with Jesus to see where we really relish beginnings and endings, because that's the whole play in consciousness.
Así que aquí es donde tenemos que mirar con Jesús para ver dónde realmente disfrutamos los comienzos y finales, porque eso es todo el juego en la conciencia.
See, there's only one loaf of bread, but the ego likes to slice it. So there's lots of little slices, but it's still only one loaf of bread.
Es solo una barra de pan, pero al ego le gusta la rebanada, así que hay un montón de pequeñas rebanadas, pero sigue siendo solo una barra de pan.
And then it lives inside each little slice, and that's like the little beginning of ending.
Vive dentro de cada pequeña rebanada y eso es como el pequeño principio del final.
So the beginning and the end, let's look at all the beginning and the ending. The beginning and the ending of a week.
Así que el principio y el fin, miremos todo el principio del fin, el principio y el final de una semana.
The beginning and ending of a day.
Comienzo y fin de un día.
The beginning and ending of I go to work on Monday and I get home on Friday, and whatever you do, don't get in my way on Saturday because I'm free on Saturday. But then I go into a little mini hell on Sunday because I'm thinking about what am I going to do on Monday, and I really don't want to go to work.
El principio y el final de voy a trabajar el lunes y llego a casa el viernes y lo que sea que hagas no se interponen en mi camino el sábado porque estoy libre el sábado, pero luego voy a un pequeño mini infierno el domingo porque estoy pensando en lo que voy a hacer el lunes y realmente no quiero ir a trabajar.
So I think Dyra is gearing up here. So we're on How Will the World End, number 14, Dyra. And so we really want to be clear on this. Thank you, Jesus, for golly, he brings up the best stuff. We start with the light of infinite being. Let's start infinite. Why would we want to start with a start? It's the only start worth having, to see that it doesn't have a beginning or a start or a middle or an ending. Infinite light of being. In the light of divine being and honesty of God, is there a beginning or an end in there? In light. The world will end in an illusion as it began. It's really this whole thing. We had that chapter 20 meeting. The whole thing is to see how much we're relishing the beginnings and the endings, to pretend like we never end. We're always here. And that's really valuable to see. Okay, it's Friday night before Saturday is the light here. See those little slices of making days different and holidays different and vacations different. Until we see it as all the same. The world ends when we see it all the same. Yes, Jesus says. You know, you can feel that little ooch. I can't wait for Saturday. See that anticipation right there? Denial of light. How about that? Any kind of anticipation. And you'll find that falls away. That was just notable. You just notice, wait a minute, I'm not getting excited, because that's how ego plays a future. It plays the future game by the anticipation, as though there really is a future and there's something good that's going to happen in the future. So it can plan a future that's going to be happier than today. We can make a better world. See how a better world. No, all we can do is see that there is no world. I'm just asking Jesus. Yes, confirming. All we can do is admit that there truly isn't a world. It's a little hologram, and then it becomes the happy hologram instead of the hello hell hologram. Instead of hello kitty, we have hello hell hologram. See, we try to decorate the world with beginnings and ending. When will this end? When will the fun? You know, it's like driving in the car. I think I talked about that. We go to my grandmother's house and we loaded up with all 7 kids in the back of that station wagon. I don't know how that worked at all. It just seemed like a long drive, obviously, desire for a long drive experience. It seemed to take on old Highway 61 and back roads of Louisiana, bumping along. And I'm sure at about 15 minutes into that ride, we're going, when are we going to get there? Are we going to get there soon? You know, I don't know how they, you know, through the desired experience, those figures survived 7 kids in various iterations, going, when are we going to get there? And that's what we're saying to Jesus. When am I going to get there? Jesus is saying, there is no place to go. You're home. You're here. This is it. Totality. Ta-da. And Lisa would say that. I've said it before. Lisa Spare would say, this is all there is. All of it. 100%. The ego's going, wait, this is not looking good if this is. You know, I could just remember thinking, I don't know how that works really. But I did trust Lisa. That was really, Jesus said, really that deep trust of ourselves when we're trusting our brother in that way to help us, show us the way. What a way shower. So devoted to God. Lisa Fair. And those reflections become more and more precious. Those in devotion to the total, the one who knows. As the symbols in the mind are stepping outside of time and space. Limit. Those words mean limit. It's so beautiful. It's Sahaja walking along one night. It was the stars were out. Muji has a book called Vaster Than Sky. And I looked up and I go, am I vaster than sky? And the voice answered, yes. And you just knew it. It was like, whoa. Am I vaster than space, Jesus? So we have these like little glimpses of, wow, there's something infinite here. There's something, and it's fine for something infinite to be here as long as it's not me. The ego's going, well, that's really interesting. Vaster inside, it's really exciting. And then the ego goes, I got this. I'm vaster than sky. No, you're not. You know, that voice starts talking. No, as long as there is a desire for an experience below the level of awareness, time is in motion. Motion is dominant. Jesus, is that right? Did I say that right? Yes, that's what he said. Time will dominate the experience because it's a desire to be dominated by time. Ask Jesus, Jesus, is the ego a desire to be dominated by the experience of time? You can just hear it ticking in the background, tick tock, you know, as you look down and your skin starts getting wrinkled. And I'm just saying, don't look. That's why we have to give our bodies over to Jesus. And say, like, I don't know anything about a body. And you'll see that you really don't. That you don't know. If you actually look, you do not know what a body is. That's an idea. And then you'll look and you'll go, I have no idea what that is. Good. That's the step toward timelessness. No idea what a body is. Not a clue. In truth, we have no idea what a body is. Now we're getting into honesty of God. How can that be? How can I not know a body? As the desires wash out, you'll see you don't know what a body is. It's an idea. It's like a little picture that gets, that consciousness like staples together in the mind. I think it says in the Course, you know, that no time does body actually exist. Oh man, that's what makes the ego want to hide under a rock. Hearing that. Okay. Yet will its ending be an illusion of mercy? Thank you, Jesus. Because we're very unmerciful with ourselves. That's what he was showing me, how unmerciful we are to invest in the idea of a personal identity. That is so unmerciful. We just, I know. I mean, I played that card of God, you're not very merciful. Big old meanie weenie God. But when you see how unmerciful it is to have a personal identity, it's so unmerciful. You know, we want mercy to be sending 1,000 ventilators to New York for the coronavirus. Mercy is seeing that the world is an illusion. Ask Jesus, is that? Yes. Merciful is admitting the world's an illusion. And I could just see this in the play of consciousness, not one shred, not one little ooch, one little, to see that this is a dream, to actually see and admit it's a dream. To admit it's all an illusion, it's all a play. That's what keeps the ego in play, is not wanting to look and see that, look at it and see that it's the holodeck. Jesus, if there's any little ooch things in there, I'm willing to see them, that not willing to see that it's the holodeck. I just asked him, I said, Jesus, long as we're not following you, we're not going to see we're not going to see it's the holodeck, are we? He said, no, because when you don't follow me, you're investing in the very thing that denies divinity, the very expression that wants to pretend like the illusion's real. That which proves that the holodeck is solid. The illusion of forgiveness, complete, excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. The illusion of forgiveness, let's just be clear, is forgiveness an illusion? See that the infinite light of being doesn't need forgiveness. Light doesn't need forgiveness. But we do. We, the play in consciousness that likes to pretend like the illusion is real. We need to see the illusion a new way, have a whole new way of seeing. So ends the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. Let's just ask Jesus, the world have any purpose? Now, if we feel one twitch on that, it's an opportunity to look with Jesus. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose. Oh, this is good. Let's look at this. Okay, Jesus, give it to me. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose. That guilt, evil, sin have purpose. Let's just see if there are any little remnant scraps in there, because we don't want any scraps. Scraps are death. I'm in still paragraph 1 of page 36. Page 36, how will the world end? Perceived as purposeless. So Jesus, our function is to see that guilt is purposeless. See, if we believe it has purpose, it appears. That's how powerful our mind is. He says, yes, that's where we're seeing how much we want guilt. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. I'm going to go back. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need or gratify a want. Okay, so let's just go back, because a want is going to be a desire, gratifying desire. The whole world is trying to gratify desire. David calls it wish fulfillment. Wish for something, anything other than God, anything other than infinite light of being. The I want disease. Quiero. I think that, isn't it how you say it in Spanish? Quiero. It really is. It's the I want disease. We think the coronavirus is the challenge. No, it's the viral I want. I want to experience myself a more than less than infinite being. In which case we look with Jesus. Jesus. Is there any desire to be more or less than infinite? And then we just work with them. So Jesus, this is all heading toward the perception of the purposelessness of guilt and evil. It keeps appearing as long as there's a belief that it has value, that it has purpose. How but in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to truth, and truth saw them not. This was a beautiful question that Margot was asking. She was asking, well, how come Jesus doesn't take the beliefs? Because he'd agreeing with us that the dream is real. You know, we keep saying, God, take these from me. No, you want them too bad. You want the illusions so bad. So he can only call to us and say, step out of the illusion, step out of the illusion, step out of the illusion, until we choose to cease to deny ourselves. And so the key here, he's pointing to the key. It's recognizing the uselessness of guilt, fear, that they're useless. They have no purpose. They're purposeless. We pretend like we're an orphan of God, but what we've adopted, we set up an adoption program for the home for guilt and fear. And then we protect it as the little fiefdom and give it purpose. That's why he's got to turn the purpose back on to look. The purpose is to recognize the uselessness of guilt and fear. That they have no purpose. They're purposeless. So soon, and that's basically what's happening. When we have a desire, and Jesus says to us, just want to be clear, we're going down with chapter 20, okay, with Jesus and a partner, because he says that's the most helpful way, because it's helping us learn to trust our brother and trust ourselves through our brother. So he takes you down and you say, Jesus, can I have a miracle? You can always have a miracle if you want one. The challenge is we don't want it, because miracle's natural. So then he goes, no, I don't. And you go, okay, there's something else for me to look at. And we go and look. The willingness is to see that desire is useless. It has no purpose. That has to be recognized. See, as long as it's in the little catacomb down there, we're hiding from ourselves the recognition that guilt, fear, suffering is useless. The ego is making it useful. It calls it, this is important. This is the path to heaven if you were in guilt and fear. So that's why when chapter 20 is so powerful, because then we just go down with Jesus and he brings us and he shows us, it's like it marries. See, the ego is going to keep those things apart. It likes to keep the forgiven, what's forgivable. It likes making things having to have forgiveness, the forgiveness, guilt and fear, and try to keep those things separate. But when we look at it directly in the light of truth, we can see that it has no purpose. That we thought it's salvation in it. We think, oh, there's salvation in this guilt and fear. So that's the horizontal seeking of salvation horizontally through guilt and fear. So that's all he's doing. He's bringing us with him to show the uselessness of these perceptions that deny divinity. They're useless. And they are useless because we can look and see that the light's here. You can see that all the world has no function in the light. You can ask them, does the world have any function in the light of divine being that we can find? We can hunt around there and see if we can find it, but we won't. Their uselessness is recognized. That's a great question to add. Jesus, will you show me the uselessness of this desire? That's what we need to see, that it's absolutely useless. It serves no truth. How but in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to truth, and truth saw them not. That's all we're doing when we look at things in the light, is to see the light doesn't see all this kerfuffling. It's not involved in all the kerfuffling. It's not hell bent on fear or experiencing hell. It's just the light's just here. It merely overlooked the meaningless. The light doesn't give meaning to things. It doesn't have set up a little shop in consciousness for an experience. It just is. It's just here. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here it is nurtured, nourished. Here it is nourished, for here it is needed. We need forgiveness until Jesus says we're done. He's in charge of the atonement, so he's the one that says. And forgiveness is merely seeing all things in the light of truth, the light of divine being. And he tells us right here, it merely overlooked the meaningless. The meaningless cannot register on infinite light hard drive. It doesn't have a little place to write those little zeros and ones on it. The ego is the keeper of the hard drive of hell. We call it the highway of hell. This is the hard drive of hell. And we just have to start to notice where we're taking that hard drive, and Jesus is saying, why don't you take that out for a while? Yeah, that's good. I'll take it out for a while. I can see there's something infinite. And you'll just see your hand, just that itch to reach over and pull that hard drive and plug it in and experience. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here it is nurtured, for here it is needed. A gentle Savior born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here is his home, for here is the need of him indeed. For there is the need of him with a capital H indeed. He brings the ending of the world with him. The world will end in happy laughter. Because we recognize these illusions are useless. And futile, the futility. This is really where we look carefully to see the true meaning of resistance is futile. The light's here. It's like too late, too bad. Can't do anything about it. But it's happiness. Even though the ego is going to really try to do something to boot that light. It just boots it out of awareness, but it doesn't mean it's not here if we're not aware of it. Those are all concepts that we can boot the light out. It is his call, God's teacher, his answer, turning to him in science to receive his word. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by his judgment, as pure and innocent. We're looking out at the reflection of our mind. So we're looking out on purity and innocence. And if not, then we just forgive it. Forgive everything that we look out upon. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. Not one thought. I said, Jesus, that's choiceless awareness. Yes. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be. That's what we're fighting for the world to seem to be. I was just praying all the time that the whole thing would just go away. Like that was the prayer. I just want this world. Oh, I think I got into spirituality actually because I just wanted the world to go away. But that's the ego's play. It makes the world, and then we're figuring out all the time. It's figuring out how to escape all the pain of it. That's just the experience. It can't be transcended without truly looking at it deeply. So many beings will see that they light, that light's here. Many will. It's not difficult to see the light's here, but they'll remain in the play. They'll be subject to disease and body ailments and because there's still a desire for experience below the level of awareness. Purification is not complete. That's why we have to keep looking with Jesus for those who want the unbroken joy. To stand and face the play of consciousness. Certainly, this seems to be a long, long while away. When not one thought of sin remains, appears to be a long-range goal indeed. But time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. Because we can see the timeless one now. That infinite light is timeless in this moment and always. It's not waiting on time. The light's not waiting on time. It doesn't have a little time clock to go and punch into. We just punch out of heaven. But time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts atonement for himself. Jesus, can we accept atonement now? Is there anything stopping us from accepting full atonement right now? Is it not easier to forgive one sin than to forgive all of them? The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. And you'll see this. This is another reason chapter 20 is so helpful. because of that belief that orders of difficulty and miracles, some miracles are more powerful than others, let's say that, or certain things will never be forgiven on, or however consciousness plays in that way. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts atonement for himself. Because sin is unknown to us. It's not natural. You can ask Jesus, is sin natural to me? That's part of the ego's thought system. I could see that. You just assume sin is real out of the gate. But it's necessary for consciousness to play, that it kind of be taken for granted that sin is real. We're just questioning all of that. The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. It's just, I'm just out. There's just another way of it. Is there, Jesus? You can ask him because you can talk to him. To see that it's all the same. It's all desire to deny. Stooched out on a timeline. It seems like a timeline. I just add, so desire generates the perception of a timeline. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. Can you understand this? No, it is meaningless to anyone here. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. I think that's worth looking at. Let's look deeply. That's where we see we're complete already. We see that salvation's already here. It can't be taken away. It's the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does heaven. And you can ask Jesus, is heaven more powerful than all the thinking of the world? Yes. The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. He need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. Oh, that's an ego thing. Because I could hear that little rumble in there going, oh, this is really hard. That's the ego defining that. How can anything be hard for infinite light of being? His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. This is the reversal that he's talking about. We have to see the reversal. And we do that by giving up the desires, or really having those conversations with Jesus and having more and more insight that it really is a choice to say no to divine light. That's a reversal. Is being willing to admit it's been a choice all along to hide from the light, to kill the light with every bit of shred of energy that we can. And even so, we still can't hide from the light because we are the light. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings an ending to the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? He need merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go in its direction. So that's what we're doing in chapter 20, or every time we study the course, we're going in the direction, we're aligning with God's will. He need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. The world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world is gone. The world will end in peace because it is a place of war. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. When there is laughter, who can longer weep? And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it began. You can see in the light of divine being, honesty of God, in the light, forgiveness isn't needed because everything's accepted. Yet it is needed in the play of consciousness, which likes to deny that the light's already here. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all God would have you do, you can do. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn his own curriculum. His word says otherwise. His will be done. It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. These are some great lines in here. To even look at some things or other things as being hard or easy. You can just see I can see that little rumble every now and then, the little grumble. This feels hard, Jesus. And see that it's a play. We're immediately in the play of the dream. We just hit the snooze alarm on that one. Yeah, Jesus said, yep. It can seem like it's so subtle, but in actuality, it's just a big old mean bull that we're following around all the time. It's just really brutal. From hell into heaven is the function of God's teachers, for what they teach are lessons in which heaven is reflected. And now sit down in true humility and recognize that all God would have you do, you can do. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn his own curriculum. His word says otherwise. His will be done, and it cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Thank you for joining us and bringing your holy light with us. We love you all. Thank you, Dyer, for bringing your translation so our brothers and sisters that speak Spanish can joyfully bring their light with us. We're all going up. It's so far beyond language. It's what is.